alaikum, everybody. Just getting set up. Here we go. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Just waiting for some people to arrive and then we'll have a little conversation, inshallah. I'm going to move you up slightly higher actually, so you can look at my face, which is quite important for a conversation. Assalamu alaikum, who have we got with us today? Assalamu alaikum. Who have we got? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up please in the chat. And we will do this. You over there. Assalamu alaikum, who's come to join me today? I can't see any chat anywhere. Oh, there we go, there we go. Okay, thank you very much. How are you today, Georgie, if I'm reading your name correctly? You're a little bit, I've got my phone a bit further away than usual. So, yeah, but I'll do my best to keep up with your comments. And I'm also going to go on my laptop as well, so I can see all of you guys on my laptop as well. I'll also need to, if any of you guys are in the Arabic in 60 Steps WhatsApp group, actually, I'll do it, inshallah. Okay, wa alaikum salam, Shahid. Hey there, Isabel, how are you today? How are you guys? Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much for coming to join me today. Let's have a look for this. Make sure I'm live in the right place. Here we go. I'm just telling the students in the Arabic in 60 Steps program as well that that we are live here. So let's go. Alhamdulillah. We have the contentment of a Muslim heart and soul. Alhamdulillah. It's good to have you here. Okay, all of you guys who are here, all 7 of you, can you like the video, please? That helps in the algorithm and stuff. So it doesn't cost anything. Like the video for me, please. That'd be a huge help. I'll wait like another 2 minutes. And yeah, and then when we've waited for a few other people to come along, then maybe we'll get started, inshallah. I don't have very much to talk about in this video, by the way. It's mainly for you guys, what you guys would like to talk about. But I'll maybe start the video just with a few announcements. Yeah. And then we'll just get into whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm watching you from Zambia. Oh, cool. I was actually meant to visit Zambia back in 2014 when I went to Uganda. We were planning on doing a trip from Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Zambia. But my mother became sick and I had to come back to the UK, but I was really excited to go to Zambia. Yeah, how is it out there? How is Zambia? Okay, we've got 9 of you, but we only have 4 likes on the video, so please like the video. That's a huge help for me. Who else have we got? 10 of you in here. Assalamu alaikum, you guys. How are you guys today? Also, another thing as well, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that, because we're nearly at 20,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel. So please go and subscribe to this channel as well. That'll be a huge milestone for us. So we've got France. Okay, cool. France, where in France? We have Muslims move from France to the UK as like a mini hijrah that they do, because supposedly the environment for Muslims here in the UK is better than in France. I believe that, by the way. When I say supposedly, I mean more because I don't really know France very well. But I absolutely do see that the UK is better for Muslims than than the rest of Europe. Yeah, the mug. This is the Arabic in 60 steps mug. This is العربية في 60 خطوة. The Arabic in 60 steps. Yeah, that's the that's kind of the logo, and that's the calligraphy for the program. So yeah, we actually don't sell this merch anymore, so it's like limited edition stuff that I've got. Cool. All right. Well, we've been here for 5 minutes. We've been hanging out for 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some announcements, and then I'll just hang around for another half an hour for any questions that you guys have. So first thing is I want to welcome a new student to the program. Actually, there's a student called Nahida who joined yesterday. So very warm welcome to the program. Your workbook has been sent to you. So your workbook has been sent all the way up to Blackburn for our new student Nahida. So congratulations for getting your place on the program. And please message me as well if you need anything at all. I haven't seen you join the WhatsApp group yet, but hopefully I'll get an opportunity to speak to you soon. What else have we got? Next thing is on this YouTube channel, we have a new series coming out starting tomorrow. I'm planning, bi'idhnillah, to get the first episode out tomorrow, where we're going to do a walkthrough of the Arabic version of the story of Red Riding Hood, which obviously is a story that we're familiar with here in our Western literary tradition. And but in Arabic it's called Layla wa Dhi'b, which just means Layla and the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood is that would translate in a very strange way. I mean, what on earth is Riding Hood? Anyway, like it wouldn't translate well. So yeah, they've renamed her as Layla, and and the Dhi'b and the wolf. So we're going to start that tomorrow. We'll be doing like a paragraph of Arabic in each lesson. We're going to try to do those every Friday. Yes, that's what we'll do. I want to make this a habit of doing these live streams every Thursday as well, just to give us an opportunity for us to talk and make myself available for the students out there who have any questions at all. And then on Saturdays, so Thursdays we'll do live streams, Fridays we'll do Layla wa Dhi'b, and then on Saturdays I'd like to do like Arabic in 60 steps specific videos. So I have 2 planned so far. I want to do a little video on why it's 60 steps. Like I think even many of our students don't even know why I chose to do 60 rather than 50 steps or 100 steps. But there's a really good reason as to why I chose to create the program as 60 steps. So I want to do a video on that one Saturday. And then what else do I have planned? I have another, I need to do another video actually on what we actually offer on the program, because I've kind of added some other stuff that I offer now. So it's not just the program. The program, something new actually, I only opened it up yesterday. But something new is that the program is available for a lower price as a monthly subscription now, as well as what it normally is. The students who are already on the program, who have paid the full price for lifetime access to it, is by far the best value for money, right? Like it's only if people, it's only for specific types of people who it makes sense to subscribe for £60 a month. There's only certain types of people that makes sense for, but I've opened it up for those types of people. So people who know they can complete the program in 2 months, it makes sense for, right? They only need to join for 2 months, and it's less than what the whole lifetime access is. People who they just don't want to part with that much money, don't want to sample it or something, makes sense for them. So so that's something else that's available. And there's other things that I've talked to the students about recently: Arabic in 60 Steps Academy, Arabic in 60 Steps Intensive, and I need to do a video on all the different specifics of those really. What else have we got? What else is coming up? So this afternoon, actually, I'm recording a podcast with a Neat Parent podcast, actually. It's not Arabic related, it's about parenting. But a lot of the podcast with me will be about raising our children speaking other languages. That'll be a lot about what I'll be talking about. So this afternoon I'm recording, I'll be a guest on the Neat Parent podcast, but I don't know when they'll publish that. I'll try to get permission to publish it on my platform as well. It'll be on the Sam Martin Burr podcast if we do that. So that's something else coming up. And then for those of you who are interested, I've kind of started doing Somali language content again. Not very much, only on TikTok. This is the Sam of Somalia TikTok. So we've started doing content on there again. Not very much, a couple of videos here and there. And on the Sam of Somalia Instagram as well, because I'd like to do more Somali language stuff in the near future. But that's everything from me, I think. If you're in this video and you haven't liked the video, please like the video for me. That always helps in the algorithms and stuff. And also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe to the channel, because we are we are climbing. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers here. So yeah, please hit that subscribe button. It's a massive help to me. Okay, and now the floor is yours. What can I help you guys with? What have we got? Oh, hi Shahiba. Assalamu alaikum. How are you today? How is Trinidad today? And Erica, hi to you as well. Erica in Italy, I believe. And yeah, Shahiba in Trinidad. What else have we got? Bismillah. I'm all croaky today. I don't know why my voice is croaky. It does not look promising for the podcast this afternoon. Okay, Isabel from near Paris. Cool. Must have tons of Arabs around there. Great, yeah, so Shahiba says that she's been here on the Arabic in 60 Steps program since November and was in the academy. Yeah, thank you very much, Shahiba. And your comments on the program have been really useful as well, actually. Yeah, I remember not so long ago I kind of put out a very open kind of question out into the WhatsApp group to things that the students would, problems that the students maybe have with learning Arabic and stuff, and Shahiba was very constructive, and as were many other students, and your comments have been heard and taken on board, so thank you very much for that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to opening up the academy again. We're really close to enough students. I want 20, we already have 18 or 17 I think, so we only need 2 more to kind of register their interest, and then we'll start. So yeah, I mean, quite possibly, I don't know if we'd be able to do it on Monday, but it's quite possible that we'd be able to do it the following Monday. I don't know what date that brings us to. Next Monday is the 13th, isn't it? So maybe Monday the 20th of June, we might be able to start the academy again. But we'd need to see about that. And I also need to make sure I've got space to do it as well. Yeah. But yeah, we'll sort it out soon. Great, Jalal in Belgium. Awesome. One of my really good friends actually lives in Belgium now. He moved to Brussels a few years ago after he got married. He got married to a Moroccan Belgian woman, and he lives in Belgium now. That's really cool. I've actually never been. Well, I've driven through it. I've driven through Belgium, and once when I got the bus. No, I didn't drive through it. I got the bus to Breda in the Netherlands, and obviously that bus goes through Brussels, doesn't it? Long time no see from Messi the goat. I've not seen Messi on my live stream before. Oh, cool. Cool, I've got someone else who lives in Paris, actually. Messi's here. Messi must live in Paris now, so perhaps Isabel and Messi, you can, practice some Arabic together. Because I have no doubt that this is Messi. Well, I'd like to say long time no see as well, but that's not a name that I'm familiar with as someone following my content. So, yeah. But is Messi the GOAT? That's the question for football fans. Is Messi the GOAT? I'm stuck with the different forms of verbs. Any advice on how to memorize them better? So it's important to remember that there's a very finite number of them, right? Like the ones that you really need to concern yourself, and to be honest, even me, I need to concern myself with, there are only 10 of them. Yeah, okay, so I don't know if you should worry too much about memorizing the forms of verbs. I think it's a good idea to memorize one example from each form. So like, just lay out like 10 verbs, like really useful ones for each form. We can maybe do that now. Like until we have another question, we can just practice that now if you want. So if you have something to write on in front of you, I'll just talk you through an example of each form of each verb, and yeah, we can just do that. So Itachi, I didn't see your last question, so please write it for me again, and I'll come to it in a second. But Erica suggested a useful activity for us to do now, and I'll start doing that. So I find it useful to just have like a go-to example for each one of the forms of verbs. So for form 1 is always ketebe, right? But like I use ketebe all the time when I'm trying to just demonstrate what a form 1 verb is or something. So, but maybe for the sake of this video, because you're on the program, you'll have seen that like 30 times by now. We'll try a different one. So let's take the verb let's take a verb that's maybe lesser used in the program. The verb taraka. We could use that one, or we could use the verb jalasa, maybe, just so we're using like another very simple verb, right? Jalasa. So that's just an example of a form one. You can think to yourself, jalasa, yajlisu, past tense and present tense, and a jalis is someone sitting down, a majlis is a place where you sit down. So that's just an example of a form one. Of a form two, the first one that comes to mind is the verb sallama. Sallama meaning to greet somebody or to wish peace upon somebody else. So when I'm thinking to myself, how do form two verbs work? I'll just go to sallama because I'll have learnt sallama yusallimu, taslim in the masdar is the taslim. A musallim, I guess, would be a person who is doing the greeting. Taslimat are greetings. Like if you open up an Arabic phrase book, you see taslimat. So just pick one verb and drill it. So like if we just do a conjugation of it together in the past tense, like sallama, he greeted, sallamat, she greeted, sallamta, you greeted, sallamti, you greeted in the feminine, and sallamtu, I greeted. So when you kind of just have a go-to example like that, if I ever throw a new form 2 verb at you, I throw the verb, let's say the verb, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example that I don't use all the time in the program. Let's say the verb, okay, so maybe the verb allaqa. So the verb allaqa, I don't believe I mentioned it at all in the program. Allaqa, it really comes from, like an alaq is something that kind of connects to something, but the term ta'liq is ta'liq is a comment, right? Actually, if you ever watch like police dramas in Arabic, you'll hear people say la ta'liq, no comment. That's Arabic's equivalent of in like an interview room saying no comment, la ta'liq. So if I throw a verb at you like that, because you know sallama yusallimu, you'll know allaqa yu'alliqu. And because you know sallama, sallamat in the past tense, you'll know allaqa, allaqat. Like if you just have a go-to example of it that you've heard used regularly, then it'll be easier to just kind of to put other verbs in that pattern. So yeah, so like for me, yeah, like for me in the form 1, it was always kataba because it's just a verb that we use all the time. Form 2 was always sallama. Form 3 probably qatala because we use it all the time, right? Like in the program, it's like our kind of go-to example of a form 3 verb. Because you know qatala yuqatilu, the next time I give you the verb marasa, you'll know marasa yumarisu. And because you know qatala qatalat, you'll know marasa marasat. Marasa means to practice, by the way, and qatala means to fight. Marasa. So if you need to say I practiced Arabic with my teacher, you'll know it's marastu al-arabiyyata ma'a mudarrisi. I practiced my Arabic with with my teacher. I practiced Arabic with my teacher. So yeah, so that's just an example of like form 1, form 2, form 3. And then to maybe another way of reducing the amount you need to learn, in the program we try to pair them a little bit. So well, actually, in the program, we pair them in a way which is conducive to the ordering of them. But in another way, we do kind of talk about how Form 2 and Form 5 are kind of a pair, and Form 3 and Form 6 are kind of a pair in another way, because they're both sort of reciprocal verbs, right? Like they're verbs, like, for example, if we take the verb qatala, means to fight. Like if there's reciprocated combat. It's not like qatala in the Form 1, which means to kill. Qatala is like there's reciprocated killing, right? And Form 6 is much like that. Like for example, the verb ta'awana, it means to kind of cooperate or to collaborate. Ta'awana. Ta'awun can mean like a collaboration. Like if two YouTubers do a ta'awun, they're doing a collaboration. Or if the term tafa'ul means like what is it, like in a class, if you get students to work together and stuff, it's called tafa'ul. Maybe like cooperation. No, the ta'awun is better for that, but tafa'ul is like people doing things together. Good, okay, so kind of Form 3 and Form 6 are kind of a pair in the sense that they're kind of reciprocal. Form 2 and Form 5 are kind of a pair in a sense because, if the Form 2 is to do something to something else. So say, for example, like the verb akhara. akhara, the form 2, it means to delay something. So for example, when we do ta'khir, of our prayer times, if you're going to pray later, if you're delaying your prayers, you call it ta'khir, you're delaying something. But if you are late yourself, right, you're not making something else late, you're being late yourself, it's the form 5, the verb ta'akhara. So when you say that you're late, you say ana muta'akhir. You use the form 5 for that. So form 2 and form 5 are kind of a pair, form 3 and form 6 are kind of a pair. The rest of you guys, can you tell me if the stream's frozen? Because Shahib is saying that it is. I'll pause for a second just to let things buffer, and I will have some qahwa. So I'll give it a couple of seconds to catch up. Even the live stream finds all the verb forms a bit overwhelming. The live stream says that's enough, Sam. Stop at form 5. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're following along, by the way, if my live stream hasn't frozen for you and you're still following along. Put a thumbs up in the chat for me, please. And great. Okay, so I'll continue. Zorpe, I will come to your question afterwards. I'm just going to give one last example. So I mentioned how form 2 and form 5 are kind of a pair, form 3 and form 6 are kind of a pair, but form 1 and form 4 are kind of a pair in a similar way as well. Like, for example, if the verb nezela in the form 1 means to come down, then anzala means to send something else down. Or if the verb kharaja means to leave, the verb akhraja means to make something else leave or to force something else out. If dakhala means to enter, adkhala means to enter someone else into something. So yeah, so they're kind of a pair as well. So not only is it helpful to remember kind of a go-to example of each form of the verbs, it's also helpful to kind of pair up forms of verbs as well. That can kind of help the mental load of it a little bit. There was another question where a student was okay with the 10 forms of verbs, but aren't there other forms? Well, yes, but they're not forms of verbs, they're just other patterns. I suppose we wouldn't necessarily refer to the fu'ala pattern, which is the plural pattern, as a verb form, right? Like it's just a plural form. It's a form of the jam'a taksir, the broken plural forms. So there are many patterns to learn, many, right? Like I don't necessarily think it's really helpful to learn Arabic. If you're learning it as a used living language, I don't think it's really helpful to learn the mechanics of just the patterns of all of them, because there are many. There are some that it's well worth it. You know, like there's some plural patterns, like the af'al pattern, for example. You can put so many words just in the af'al pattern. Walad, awlad, qamar, aqmar, qalam, aqlam. Like it's just so useful. Feel, afya, like it's a very high return pattern to learn. But there's so many. Like, yeah, I mean, like the fu'lan pattern, like furqan. I don't know if that as a pattern in and of itself it has a very high return, because there's so few words that are in that pattern. Yeah, so but to answer your question more directly though, it's important to kind of separate verb forms from just broken plural forms and just patterns of general words in Arabic. Yeah, I don't know how helpful it is to just memorize all of them. Itachi, I'm looking for your previous question. Let me scroll up the comments. I cannot see your question, my friend. I do apologize. What else have we got? Thank you guys for liking the video, by the way. That's awesome. And please subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done already. Those of you guys who are here and following along. I am also on the live stream as well. I've just commented on my own live stream. Yeah, Itachi, I can't see your question. I don't know what's up with the chat. If you're a student on the Arabic in 60 Steps program, you can message it to me. If not, then maybe DM it to me on Instagram or something. Because I've got my work phone here, so if you wish to contact me in any way and write a question in another way, then we can do it through this. Okay, what else have we got? Yeah, DM me either on the Sam Martin Burr Instagram or on the Arabic in 60 Steps Instagram. Oh, right, okay, yeah, that's possible. Okay, so are you inactive user not found? Is that your username? Because I've received a DM from that name. Okay. All right, well, we'll just have to swiftly move on. Right, what else have we got? Oh, right, okay, yeah, the questions come in. Okay, let's have a look at this. So, Sam, mate, how are you? I'm very well, thank you, my friend. Thank you very much for being part of it and messaging me and tuning in to come and hang out with me for a little while. Okay, memorize the alphabet and pronunciation perfectly. Well done, congratulations. How can I go to A1? How can I go A1 to C2 Arabic most efficiently? That depends on lots of things, on what's available to you, and where you are and stuff. So, look, there's some things. To be honest, I would even criticize the spectrum of like A1 to C2 for Arabic knowledge, because lots of people learn Arabic and don't have any interest in learning to speak it fluently, and that kind of grading is mostly focused on spoken language. But given that you've used them, I'm going to assume that that is your goal. Your goal is about spoken language as you've used that scale. So there's only some things that a grammar focus is going to benefit you for. But I think an accumulative grammar focus does need to be the backbone of your studies for you to kind of keep track of, like, I've covered that, because you can't really do that with phrases and vocab. There's just too much of it. But you need to, if you imagine like there being kind of like a grammar backbone of your studies, I think you need a program for that, whether it be the Arabic in 60 Steps program, whether it be the Medina books, whether it be whatever it might be, right? And then you need to kind of have a spiral going up that or around it of loads of practice of Arabic, like consuming as much as you can and practicing as much as you can, and it'll be worth getting speaking partners for it. There's websites and there's Facebook pages and stuff to find Arabic speaking partners, but those alone aren't really going to be enough. You do need kind of a backbone of your studies, I think, and because I've tried to do that lots of times. I've tried to learn Turkish just with like talking to speaking partners, and they don't really know what you need. They're just gonna, similar to just like watching Turkish TV, they're just gonna kind of give it to you, and that isn't necessarily the most the most effective way to learn. So to answer your question as most directly as I can, number one, have some kind of structure just to keep you on track, like enroll in a course of some kind, but don't think that one course alone is going to solve all of your problems. So imagine it as like having an internal pillar of your studies, and then like your speaking practice going around it, and that speaking practice needs to involve lots of input, so lots of consuming Arabic videos, lots of listening to news, lots of listening to native speakers, and lots of producing of vocal Arabic as well, whether it be with speaking partners or whatever. But that needs to be really consistent. Like, you really need to be doing that a lot. And if you don't have access to speaking partners, talking to yourself, like finding an environment where you're comfortable to speak to yourself and actually create sentences in Arabic, you need to be doing that every day. Like, the skill of speaking Arabic is much more about developing a skill rather than developing knowledge. Like, it's much like being a good speaker of Arabic is much like being good at push-ups or being good at swimming. Maybe we'll take that as an example. Like, people generally know how to swim. I know how to swim, right? But I don't live near the sea anymore, so I don't swim very often. So when I get back in the water, I'm not really a very strong swimmer. It's not because I don't know how to swim anymore. It's not because I've got less knowledge on swimming. I'm just not in practice. Like, the skill of speaking is really more about being in practice than it is about having knowledge. So you really need to be doing that regularly. And also don't think that when you reach a high level of spoken Arabic, then you've kind of achieved that and it's done. Like, that's something you need to maintain. It's unfortunate, right? But lots of these highest levels of knowledge and ability in something really aren't something you achieve. They're really a complete lifestyle choice. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Though I'll come back to some of the questions in here. Okay, so do you mind explaining why counting grammar rules are so complicated? So I assume that you mean like using numbers, right? And where does that come from? Good question. Why does Arabic deem it appropriate for the grammar rule concerning the number 1 to be so different to the grammar concerning the number 2, which is so different to the grammar concerning the numbers 3 to 10, which is so different to the grammar concerning the numbers 11 to 99, which is so different to the grammar concerning the numbers 100 and above? I don't know. There may be, this is complete speculation based on nothing, right? But that's where we are with this, really. It might be something to do with something in early Arab Bedouin culture of their relationship with livestock or something like that. There might be something specific about the things needed to take care of 3 to 10 camels, which is different to more than 10. There might be something like that, right? There's definitely something unique about the number 2, right? Like, to breed, you need 2 of something. You need a pair of something, and like that. Like, the number 2 is very specific. So I understand why there's a dual in Arabic. It's concerned with lots of things, even like human. Like human chromosomes and stuff are in 2s, and humans are created from a pair and stuff like that. The number 2 is really significant. I get why Arabic has a dual. There is funny grammar around it, like, but specifically with the numbers 3 to 10. There's an Arabic word, the word bidr'. The word bidr' in Arabic specifically means like 3 to 10. And you, because of the grammar rules with the numbers 3 to 10 using a plural after it, you do the same with the word bidr'. But this word bidr' specifically means like, it's kind of like the word few, like a few. Allah actually uses it in Surah Al-Rum, where He says after Alif Lam Mim, غُلِبَتِ الرُّومُ في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين. في بضع سنين, in a few years. But when Allah is saying that, when Allah is making a prediction for something to happen, He's saying that this will happen في بضع سنين. It will happen in a few years, but it specifically means between a certain number. So like, it's not even just those numbers, it's even words referring to those numbers that behave in that grammar. So that is a little chunk of Sam speculating and making up things based on absolutely nothing. So there you go. Okay, so we have another question. Today is almost 1 year that I've been studying Arabic, and today I got my dream job, congratulations, as a tour guide in an Arabic company. But I will use English at this point. What will be your suggestions? Thanks. I mean, your suggestions for using Arabic in your job: learn very job-specific vocabulary. Yeah. I'm doing Al-Kitab and Bayna Yadayk. I'm also thinking about hiring a private tutor in my area. What do you think? None of those things are going to harm each other. The Arabic that you're learning in Al-Kitab and Bayna Yadayk are all standard Arabic stuff, so that pairing makes sense. With your teacher, I would just make sure you communicate well about what you actually want to achieve, because us Arabic teachers, not me anymore, because I kind of tell the world what I do and then they kind of take it or leave it, but when I was tutoring, when I was just like a local Arabic tutor, I would get people approach me and they think learning Arabic means so many different things. Like, some people think learning Arabic means learning to read the Quran. Like, they'll come to me with their kids, like, you teach, like, you're an Arabic teacher, so you can teach them to read the Quran, and like, that's a very specific job. Like, that's really for like Islamic studies teachers and Quran teachers and stuff. Or some people come and they're like, you know, because you're an Arabic teacher, you must be able to teach me how to pass my GCSE in Arabic, or you must be able to teach me how to talk to my Moroccan in-laws in their dialect specifically. So, you know, I'll just make sure that you're very clear about what you want. Like with me now, when I hire teachers for me, because I have teachers as well for my Arabic, and I'm always very specific that I want educated Arabs who know Arabic literature well. Like the Arabic teachers that I hire, they're all academics. Like, they have master's degrees in Arabic literature and they don't speak English. All of them. Like, I'm looking for Arabic teachers who teach Arabic through Arabic. Like, they're Arabic teachers for Arabs and stuff. Like, I like hiring teachers like that. So I really have a good idea of what I want and how I want to learn with them as well. Like, I don't have one-on-one lessons with them. I pay them like a retainer fee to basically be like my go-to Arabic teacher. I ask them questions and I send them voice notes and stuff like that. That's something that I think Arabic students should consider sometimes in their studies. It's kind of what I try to provide with a WhatsApp number for the 60-step students. Sometimes, you know, sometimes doing one-on-one lessons isn't really the most conducive thing for learning languages. Like, we've kind of boxed learning languages into the same thing that we've done with like learning maths at school. We do it in like 1 hour blocks on pen and paper, but I think languages are much more entwined in your lifestyle than that. And I think it's more helpful to have somebody who you can just ask quick questions to here and there, and you can just get them to correct your mistakes and stuff as you go. I think that is that's a student-teacher relationship which is much more conducive to language learning. I mean, it's so, I don't know, I think it's kind of archaic, really, the way that we try to cram languages in a very academic structure, because the assumptions that we've got about learning are from like the Industrial Revolution, really. Like, we need to squeeze things into 1 hour periods for them to fit in a working day so the kids can be busy when the parents go to work, and that we need to like timetable everything, and we need to make sure that every student is in the right place for the teachers. Like, all those kinds of conditions that existed in like industrial age schooling, we've kind of inherited into our languages learning, and I don't know why we've needed to do that. So anyway, I think we should consider more learning style appropriate approaches for our language learning and our student-teacher relationships. Anyway, I digress. Um, are there going to be any new podcasts on your Spotify? Yes. Yeah, we have new episodes coming out soon. It's all going to be the audio versions of the stuff I put on my YouTube channel, though. I'm not doing like podcast-specific content. But yeah, there will be some stuff soon. Because that podcast as well, actually, we're reaching some milestones on some of the Arabic in 60 Steps platforms, and I really want us to push a little bit towards them. Like the Arabic in 60 Steps podcast is nearly 500,000 downloads. It's up for 491,000 downloads. So I'd really love to reach the milestone of getting to 500,000 downloads on there, and I'd love to reach the milestone of 20,000 subscribers here on this YouTube channel. So yeah, we want to keep on pushing to some of those, but there will be more content coming out soon. Okay, let's have a look. Best way to start learning how to read Arabic and understand it for a beginner. So I assume, as you're talking about understanding it, you don't mean like reading the script. I assume that's not what you mean. You mean you want to start learning some vocabulary. Like, the Arabic in 60 Steps program is a really good program for that. If you want to go from not knowing anything, understanding anything, to be able to understand in the reading. So what we do on the Arabic in 60 Steps program is we start with a very simple understanding of what words are. Like, when you look at an Arabic word, let's take al-waladu, for example. Or like, what's going on in the word al-waladu, and how do we add one word onto it? Then how do we make slight changes in it to expand the meaning? And by doing that, we end up building our understanding of how to read Arabic. So I'm not sure, outside of the structure of the program, I'm not entirely sure what to give you. Another question. Why do some words that are not masculine, why do they have a feminine plural? Due to the added at, for example, tasjil. Okay, tasjilat. Okay, good. So, yeah, good question. There are lots of words like that. Sometimes, if the word itself doesn't fit into a regular Arabic pattern, even, you'll just add at on the end. Yeah, the masdar of lots of words, when they become plural, you'll use the feminine sound plural for them. That's a good question. For example, like another word like that is the word taslim. Taslim meaning a greeting. A taslim isn't feminine, right? It's not mu'annaf. But yeah, so but the plural is taslimat, and yeah, so just lots of words are like that, I'm afraid. Yeah, like why? It's often because they don't fit easily into another plural pattern. I mean, like, for example, and it's usually because they have too many letters for it. It's very easy to put words that have 3 letters into a plural pattern. Kataba and kutub is very easy, or rasul into a rusul. It's very easy to put smaller words with clearly 3 root letters into Arabic patterns. But when they can't do that, Arabic will behave much like English, where we just stick an S on the end. They'll just stick an at on the end. And as I say, that's the case with the masdar many times, particularly with the form 2. Taslim, ta'aleem, tasjil. Yeah, but it's also the case with numbers, actually. With these longer numbers, like, for example, arba'un, right, 40, arba'un. If you want to say 40s, like if someone's in their 40s, or in the 40s, like you're talking about the 1940s, you'll say, al-arba'unat, the 40s, al-khamsunat, al-sittunat, right, at-tis'unat, the 90s, right, ana walidtu fi at-tis'inat, I was born in the 90s, ana walidtu fi at-tis'inat. It's often the case with longer words like that. Where can I find the Arabic in 60 Steps program? ArabicIn60steps.com. I'll make it nice and simple for you guys. ArabicIn60steps.com. Okay, so in a jumla ismiya, or a nominal sentence, how would you know the difference between, for example, the man is standing and the man is a stander? Well, in Arabic, the word stander and standing are the same word. So you really don't. It's like in Arabic, that's not really a consideration, but particularly those of you who are familiar with the Egyptian dialect, you'll notice that these active participles Obviously, you've used the example of wafiq, right? Like, that's an active participle, or the word dhahib, you know, saying ana dhahib doesn't mean I'm a goer or I'm going. It means both of them in Arabic. Ila ayn anta dhahib, where are you going? To where are you going? And it also means to where are you a goer? But in Arabic, those mean the same thing. It's just that in English, in English, we're actually differentiating with a verb in that case. We're actually saying, and Arabic can do that as well. You know, yeah, in Arabic we can do that as well. We can say إلى أين تذهب, where are you going, or إلى أين أنت ذاهب, or where are you a goer. But the meaning of them are so close that it's you know, I don't think you need to worry about it. I love the channel. Thank you very much. That means the world to me. Jazakallahu khair. Barakallahu feek. Cool. How do you mentally prepare yourself to stick with the process and maintain discipline when attempting to learn a new language or anything? So there's two books that really helped me with this. The Power of Habit, which is by Charles Duhigg, and Atomic Habits by James something. Yeah, they're really good books. Some of the advices that I can package for you now. In Charles Duhigg's book, he talks about how it's useful to kind of habit stack. And when you talk about discipline, it's really more appropriate to talk about habit than it is to talk about discipline. Because us humans, by nature, we're not very disciplined over a long period of time. Most people who seem disciplined, they go to the gym every morning, for example. It's not really that they wake up every morning and they need to struggle to get to the gym. It's that they have a habit of going to the gym regularly. Like us humans, we really don't have the mental capacity to force ourselves to do difficult things all the time. Like, we've only got so much of that energy every day, and to make things really long-term for us, we should really build them into our habits. So, yeah, a big part of that is one from Charles Duhigg's book, number 1, about habit stacking. So there's habits that you do every day anyway, right? For me, I make coffee every morning, right? Something I do every day. When I get up and I'm starting the day, I make coffee. So I like tying habits into that. I like doing Somali flashcards when I have coffee in the morning. I just put them next to my kettle in the morning. So they're all just kind of together, right? Like, it's all just there, right? So adding habits onto other habits is a really useful thing to do. If you sort of struggle with actually facing the Arabic, right? Let's say, like, you know it's difficult, you know it's challenging, right, to get stuff done on your Arabic course or whatever. Like, don't set that as the habit. Set the habit as the bit before it. So in order to make that bit easy, you need to be at your computer with your book open and your pen down, and you need to have an hour of your time blocked out, or 40 minutes or whatever. So don't make the task learn Arabic. Make the task sit down at your desk with your book open. Even if you do that for a week but don't learn any Arabic, it's still productive, right? Because you're building the habit of setting the environment for the habit that you want. So like, I've done that lots of times in my life. Like, there's loads of things that I don't enjoy doing. Washing up. I hate doing the washing up, right? Like, so what I do now is I don't tell myself I've got to do the washing up. I tell myself I've got to stand in front of the sink with 20 minutes free or whatever. Like, maybe 20 minutes it shouldn't take me to 20 minutes, but I'm procrastinating and I'm lazy and I hate washing up, right? So for me, I don't tell myself I've got to wash up. I tell myself I've got to stand in front of the sink. And once I'm in front of the sink, it's like, I might as well wash up. Like, I'm here, I've got all the washing up to do. So, you know, sometimes it's good, it's conducive to make habits easier for you like that. Yeah, so those are just a couple of things I'd say. But those are really useful books, though, if you want to generally improve your ability to form habits in your life and appear more disciplined, even if it really is just the case that you have a good habit. Okay, for example, الرجل إمام. Well, in that case, it really couldn't mean that he's I mean, okay, the term imam is really used specifically for being an imam, right? Like, there's other verbs for leading things and stuff, so Like, I don't think there is ambiguity in that. And I think if you were going to say that he's a leader of something, like, let's say, for example, let's use the word Amir, right? Because an Amir can be like the leader of something, but an Amir, you can also be the leader of things, right? So if we're going to say, Ar-rajulu Amirun, right? The man is a leader, or the term Amir can mean a prince as well, actually. But like, let's just call it commander, actually, because it has a military connotation sometimes as well. So let's say Ar-rajulu Amirun, the man is a commander. If you're going to say he's the commander of something, it wouldn't be Ar-rajulu Amirun, because they're actually creating an idafa in the next bit if you're saying he's the leader of something. So you'd end up saying Ar-rajulu Amiru something, right? It wouldn't be Amirun, it would be Amiru, because it's a mudaf, and you'd have a mudaf ilay coming after it. So for example, if you would say the man is the commander of the believers, right? Amirul Mu'mineen is an expression, is like a term, a nickname, a laqab maybe, we might say, for Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. Amirul Mu'mineen, they used to call him the Amir of the Mu'mineen, right? The commander of the believers. So like, if you were saying the man is the commander of the believers, you wouldn't say Ar-rajulu Amirun al-Mu'mineen. It would be Ar-rajulu Amirul Mu'mineen. The man is the commander of the believers. So like, if you need to have an idafa in there if you're going to say the leader of something else. So that there would be other ways of removing the ambiguity. Is there a prerequisite for joining the Arabic in 60 Steps program? No. The only one that there ever has been for the actual 60 Steps program is knowing the Arabic script, being able to read Arabic. But we have a program for that now. Yeah, so not really, no. Also, I'm reading Atomic Habits right now. It's amazing. Yeah, I love that book. I actually really enjoy his interviews as well. He has an interview on London Real, and there's other interviews as well. He might have even been on Impact Theory as well. That's Tom Bilyeu's podcast as well. Actually, I think he's been a guest on that as well. I enjoy his podcast. I like how he speaks as well. His podcast, the podcast that he does, where he's a guest specifically, are nice because the host often sort of puts other sort of real life examples to him. James Clear, I think it is, isn't it? I think his name is James Clear. That just came to my mind. Great. Okay. I'm only going to hang out here for another 8 minutes because I need to get ready for the Neat Parent podcast as well. So any of you guys who are on Instagram, please go and follow the Neat Parent and just let them know. They say Sam sent me as well, or go to their podcast or go to their whatever platforms they're on. The Neat Parent. Yeah, it's a podcast about Muslim parenting specifically. Yeah, I'm going to be on there today, but it's not live, so it'll be recorded and we'll put it out later. Yeah. But yeah, on that podcast, I'll be talking about sorry, I was just looking at a question. So yeah, I'll be talking about raising my children, speaking other languages and stuff. So if you're interested in that stuff, I'll make sure you guys are aware of it when the podcast goes out. Kenneth Cook, thank you very much for coming and joining me today. I've been studying Arabic with another school for 2 years plus the Medina books. Would Arabic in 60 Steps still be beneficial for me, or is it only for beginners? Our graduates are not beginners. So there are steps further along in the program, which I would be very surprised if you are confident with all of it. But it's hard for me to know where you fit in that. I don't know. I don't know. You could very well, if you've been studying like a decent amount for 2 years, I'd say a lot of the stuff on the program maybe wouldn't be of so much use to you. But we have another option now where you can subscribe and cancel any time anyway, which is much cheaper. But that's still £60 a month, which is still an investment, you know. So I mean, but if you wanted to, you could just try it for 1 month and then just cancel, you know, after 1 month if you thought, you know, this program is not really, you know, it's not really adding a whole lot to my studies. But lots of people, there are lots of people who, like one of our students in the academy actually, he studied Arabic and studied Islam in Yemen for a long time, and his Arabic's really good. Shout out to brother Israr. And like, he was fairly open with me. He was like, look, the program's really revision for me, because the program is really concise, I would say. Like, I've kind of taken most of what I learned on my whole degree and packaged it up in the Arabic in 60 Steps program. So, you know, and each step has a video that's like usually less than 20 minutes. So to revise a concept that big in that time, lots of students see it useful for that. But it's yeah, unfortunately, Kenneth, I can't give you a very direct answer. It's quite possible that you already are confident with lots of stuff that we cover on the program. So you might not be in the sweet spot of the student who really benefits the most from it. Yeah, I'll just be honest with you and say that. But if you want to talk a bit more specifically about what kind of things you're reading, what kinds of topics you're talking about and stuff, please feel free just to comment more, or send me a private message as well, or email me, sam@arabic60steps.com, and we can be a little bit more specific for you. Yeah. Cool. All right, 5 more minutes. We'll wrap it up. Any last questions? Last call. I don't know why. I can see all your questions on my laptop, but not on my phone. I really don't know why. So my chat on my phone stops like ages ago. It stops like half an hour ago. I don't know what on earth has happened. Okay, who else have we got? We've got Fethi, hello. Wa alaykum al-hello wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Do you recommend buying any books to supplement the 60 Steps course, like Medina books, for example? No. I will not accept a deficiency in my own program. I know you're not really saying that. Like, okay, there are good, more simple reading books, I think. Like, to be honest, I would say the best way to supplement my program is with my YouTube channel, with my podcast and stuff. But like lots of students who have tried the Medina books have ended up them like not working out very well and coming to my program, and those students have often benefited a lot more from the program, having like 2 different ways of explaining the same things. So I don't specifically recommend things other than my own other content, like the story walkthroughs that we do, like the story of the Prophet Hud alayhi salam on this channel, and the story of other stories that we've done, walkthroughs and things like that. I'm always referring to the Arabic in 60 Steps program as well, so there's a lot of cross-referencing, which is really beneficial to students. So like I would say that, but yeah, I don't know. How do I explain the masdar in a simple way? Well, we often translate it into English as the verbal noun. But unfortunately, its use is kind of different. Like sometimes it's sort of yeah, good question. So I don't have a specific step in the program for the mustard. I just kind of give it to the students, and with some things like the mustard, I think it's better to do a bit of show not tell. Like in examples and stuff, I'm using the mustard of lots of words, but I'm not like doing a specific lesson on it, because sometimes it's better to illustrate concepts rather than explain them. Like it's better to give examples of when we use the mustard, because when we explain them to an English speaker, for example, with the word qira'ah. Okay, reading, qira'atun. Reading, so students often say to me, why can't I say ana qira'atun? I am a reading. I am reading, because in English we say I am reading, ana qira'atun, but you'd have to say ana qari'un. I am a reader, right, in that case. So sometimes in English it can be more complicated for us to explain things like that sometimes. Whereas like qira'atun or the mustard, I think if you do wish to explain the mustard, it's important to convey the idea that it's not to do with an action, it's to do with a concept. If you're talking about al-hub, love, as the concept, you're not saying I, al-hub, I the love somebody, right? You're talking about the concept of love, right? Like I like to kind of demonstrate it with saying I like something. Uhibbul qira'ah, I love reading, right? I love reading, right? Like you're talking about the concept of the reading. Uhibbul kitaba, I love writing. We're talking about the concept of writing rather than the action of it. So, yeah, those are just some of my thoughts on talking about the mustard, really. Yeah, because often, because of the way English is structured as well, it doesn't sound like there's a difference between the mustard and the fa'il and the active participle, right? Like if we translate qari' as reading, and a qari', I'm reading, and a katib, I'm writing. But it does also mean a reader and a writer, right? But it can often be used to convey a verb, right? Active participles can. But then we're also saying kitaba means writing, and qira'a means writing. Of those two, the active participle is to do with actively doing the verb. It's actively to do with doing your qira'a. You're doing your qira'a, right? But qira'a is to do with the concept of reading rather than the action, if we need to differentiate between those two. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's a question about number agreement with the dual. Yes, yeah, you need to have agreement in the dual. Yeah. رجلان لطيفان, two kind men. You don't treat it as like a a jemma, as a plural, or even as a singular. Yeah. Yeah, your question is about non-human things, though, isn't it? Because I gave you an example of something which is aqil, but for example, with you're saying rak'atayn, two rak'ahs, yeah, still in that case, use the dual as well. Baytani kabirani, two big houses, but you'd say buyut kabira. You'd say use the feminine singular for buyut. The rule about non-human plurals being feminine singular is specific to non-human plurals, or غير عاقل, unconscious plurals. Yeah, not. But in English we consider twos as the plural, but the Arabic world doesn't. The Arabic-speaking world doesn't consider a jimma as being plural in any sense. It's its own thing with its own set of grammar. Good. Okay, right. I need to go, guys, because I need to hop on another podcast soon, and I should collect myself and have some water or whatever. So, yeah, I've got to go, guys. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will try to make this a weekly thing, maybe if you guys are enjoying it, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, I'll answer one more question. How long will it take to get through the entire course, the Arabic in 60 Steps program, at a reasonable pace? About 2 to 3 hours a day. That's quite a fast pace. 2 to 3 hours a day is quite a lot. I'd be confident that if you're a decent linguist, you could finish the program in 6 months to 9 months, like that. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be comfortable that you could achieve that. Okay, typically, like when students ask me how long does it take to do the program, I say 6 to 18 months, which is such a big spectrum, but that's to compensate for the fact that students are such a big spectrum. Like, look, it is what it is. Some people are gifted linguists. Some of my students, they're way more gifted linguists than me. So, seriously, some of my students, I teach them something once, and I'm like, mate, that took me my entire degree to learn that. Some of the stuff on active participles of final week verbs, that's for another day. Let's not get into that. But like, some of that stuff, I explain it to a student like once, and they get it. Like, and that infuriates me. but anyway, some people do need much longer than others, is my point. Yeah. Good. Good. Okay, right. Let's end it there, inshallah. Thank you guys so much for coming to join me. Thank you guys for being part of it. And those of you guys who liked the video, thank you so much as well. And those of you who subscribed as well. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We're trying to hit 20,000 subscribers on this channel, which would mean the world to me. So that's it for now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.